Isosceles and equilateral triangles. So first of all, isosceles triangle is a triangle that has at least two sides congruent. At least two congruent sides. Technically, an equilateral triangle is also isosceles because it does have two congruent sides. I have an isosceles triangle drawn here. Here's the vocabulary associated with it. This angle up here is called the vertex angle. And then angle 2 and 3 down here are base angles. So angle 2 and angle 3 are base angles.
What does it?
This says vertex. Vertex. Okay, and then when we refer to the sides of an isosceles, the bottom is the base. And then these here are the legs. So leg and leg. On an isosceles triangle, two of the sides are congruent. The sides that are congruent are the legs. And here's the gist of what the theorems say. If you have two congruent sides, then you also have two congruent angles, and the angles that are congruent are opposite the legs. So if you have an isosceles triangle, not only do you have two congruent sides, you also have two congruent angles. The congruent angles are opposite the congruent legs. So as a definition, if two sides are congruent, then the angles opposite those sides are congruent.
Wait, I can't even write the word.
Do you want me to zoom in more? Yep. And then the converse of that is if you have two congruent angles, then you have two congruent legs. So if two angles are congruent, then the sides opposite those angles are congruent. And that's the gist for isosceles triangles. Now we're going to move over to equilateral triangles.
You write too fast.
Okay, equilateral triangles have three congruent sides. I'm sure you know that by now. When we show that on the triangle, we would do these three dash marks that show that those sides are matching in length. With an equilateral triangle, if you have three congruent sides, you also have three congruent angles. Because all the angles of a triangle add up to 180, in order to find the measure of these angles, you would do 180 divided by 3, which would be 60 degrees. So every equilateral triangle will have 60-degree angles. So that's part of the corollaries. A triangle is equilateral if and only if it is equiangular. And then each...
Wait, what? That's ATERAL.
Yes, it's written right here too. Okay, each angle... Sorry. Chill.
That's a C. That's not no
I didn't know you got to go to handwriting school. This
Good
is
man, like,
this is the handwriting public school gave me, you know? Each angle of an equilateral triangle is 60 degrees, as I mentioned. Okay, so then we're going to move over to the workbook.